What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to an all new episode of TAETRO Talks. Thank you for joining us today. If you don't know, we're live every single Tuesday chatting with folks from all over the music industry, performers, artists, producers, people who make cool instruments and synths. And we always have a nice chat with folks from all around the industry. Always something we can learn from all these different chats for sure. Here every Tuesday at 10 a.m. PST. So hopefully this time zone is working out for you all. But would love to hear where you all are tuning in from. So drop that in the chat. I'm happy to see some folks already hanging out in the chat. What is going on? Luminous, Spencer Thompson, HBTV, what's going on? I also have cool restream chat in the YouTube chat now, which is fun. So I can see everybody's chat. William Mindreaders, what's up? John H. Kingston from Rockaway Park, New York. Hope you're staying warm. My mom is in the chat. Antisocial Skateboards is in the chat. My dad is in the chat. Samuel Messiah is in the chat. What's going on, everybody? Mizzle, yo, the Mighty Lion. Hey, great. Everybody's tuning in today. I'm so stoked for it. We have a great guest. Overall performer, producer, DJ, all kinds of good stuff to talk about today. But before we get too deep into it, let me just remind you that we are live every single day on youtube.com/343labs for 343 TV. There's a different show every single day of the week. Last Sunday, we just had our first sample challenge Sunday with Ableton certified trainer Atropolis. Did a little bit of history of like the sample and sampling and reviewed people's tracks that worked with the sample for that month. And we'll be doing that again in a Sunday in March. So stay tuned for that. But we've got tips and tricks with Daltrick, Claire, who's another Ableton certified trainer. She's really great. TAETRO Talks on Tuesdays. Electronic Music Essentials with Lewis Beck, Beatport charting producer. On Wednesdays, Thursdays, Theory Thursday with Max Wild. He's doing deeper dives into different genres and the theory behind them. Friday, Abe Duque. Don't miss that show because he goes over the news. He chats with cool guests, different fun things happening in the electronic music world. It's kind of a bit of a variety show, which is really cool. And then John's Always Techno Saturdays, which is a really fun thing to do on Saturdays, making different techno. John also is known for having lots of cool guests on his show. There's a show every single day. So make sure you subscribe, youtube.com/343labs, turn notifications on, all that good stuff. Best thing is all the shows are taught by 343 instructors. So if you like learning from all those people and you like their kind of teaching style or you just like their vibe, you can take a class with them, which is really fun. Speaking of classes, our guest today actually is doing a pro session with 343 Labs, which is sort of like a 2-day masterclass where you get to go deep with an artist. And I think this is going to be one of the best pro sessions yet, and we'll get into why once we bring in the guest. But I guess without further ado, we should get talking with our guest. Today we have Innellea. What is going on? Welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up? Not much here.
What is
Nice
up?
to be on your show.
I'm excited to have you here, and it looks like chat is excited too. By the way, chat, if you've got questions for the artist, please leave them in the chat, and if they go with the conversation, I'll try to throw them in between. Maybe we'll do a little questions from the audience at the end as well. But hey, welcome, man. I'm so glad you're able to be on the show today. I know before I threw out like a bunch of words, like trying to define what you do and who you are as an artist, like DJ, producer, electronic musician, performer. But I'm curious to hear when people ask you, hey, what do you do? What do you tell them? Like, how do you define what you do?
Oh, that's already a tough question in the beginning, man. Yeah, first of all, I'm excited to be on your show as well. Thanks for the invitation. I would explain my job, as some kind of passion that turned out as a job in
That's
the end,
exciting.
or at the moment. Yeah, and I'm mostly a producer, I would say, and then DJ, and then a social media whatever.
Nice.
Because doing this is also part of the job at the moment,
It totally is.
especially now.
Yeah, I was gonna say now more than ever. How has it become? Like, has it become a little bit more of your daily artistic routine? Like checking it a little bit more on social media and doing content like this now that we've all been in lockdown.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was from the beginning, I was aware of that this is part of the job, and I try to give my best in doing something there special, or always
Totally.
had it in mind. But now, yeah, this is, of course, a daily routine, I would say, which some kind of annoys me,
Yeah,
but it's also fine. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
sure. Well, for everybody watching, like, where are you based out of?
I am.
Yeah, where are you
I'm
based out of?
based in. Yeah, sorry. I'm based in Munich, in Germany. It's in the south. For all who don't know, you probably know the Oktoberfest. Yeah, I live like, let's say, 100 meters away from the
Wow,
Oktoberfest.
that's so funny.
And I moved to this place, and I was pretty sad because I was super hyped that I moved to this place. And I know, okay, I can go to the Oktoberfest every single day, and I can get wasted as fuck, and I can go
Yeah,
home.
that's so
Yeah,
funny.
but this year, no Oktoberfest,
No
which is
Oktoberfest. Dude, I feel the same. I moved to LA like in June. It's like great. I'm moving to this awesome city where there's like so many people to meet
yeah,
and connections to be made, and then here we are, all in our apartments. That's
yeah.
funny. What is the scene there like in Germany? Like you came up in Germany, right?
Yeah, so basically I would say that there are different kind of scenes in Germany. If you look to Berlin, for example, I mean, it's probably one of the best scenes in the world. Here in Munich, I would say the scene is quite nice. We
Nice.
have several clubs that are offering like amazing bookings. Um, and the music scene is different here to Berlin, I would say. I try to explain how. Um, that's tough. Let's say the scene in Berlin, I have the feeling there is more going on and everybody is more connected inside the scene. Here, everyone is doing his own thing, kind of, and there are not that much producers living
Right.
here. So I think this is, yeah, this is the difference to Berlin, kind of. And
Nice.
we don't have this 24-hour culture here. So
Right.
you're not allowed to party the whole weekend.
Oh, that's
So
a
the
big
party stops
change.
at 7. Yeah,
That's a
that's a
huge
change,
difference.
definitely.
You feel like
But
do
there are more after parties going on inside of the flats.
oh, interesting.
People keep on going, go home. Yeah.
Got it. You feel like growing up in Germany, like how did that influence you getting into electronic music? Like was it just inevitable, you think, that you were gonna get into electronic music?
Hmm. I think if I would have lived in Berlin, it would have influenced me more than
Hmm.
Munich did. But of course, I went to the city and everything was super exciting because I have to go to the city to be, because I grew up in a small village like 30 kilometers in the south, closer to the mountains, to the Alps,
Yeah,
and there was not much going on. So I always had to drive 1 hour to the city, get into a club, wait till
sure.
the last train goes or the first train goes. So I had to stay the whole night. Yeah, it was kind of exciting, and maybe it kept a little bit more the magic for me.
Totally. Because it was
If
something you had to go and like you had to do this big, trip to do
you
it and
have
it
to
was like a
plan
big
it, and
commitment.
then it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, yeah, exactly.
Well, I'm
Yeah, I
curious
would say it was nice, yeah.
what was your entry into like music in general? Like, did you have a more traditional entry into music, like learning more traditional instruments, like a piano or a guitar or something, or were you straight into the electronic stuff?
So my very first contact with music was with I don't know the age anymore, but I started playing the guitar as a teenager or 13, 14 years
Hmm.
of age. That was my very first contact. I played ice hockey in the past till I was 17, and then I stopped and I decided to do snowboarding stuff, and I was
Interesting.
really into that. And also there, music was a big part for the whole filming and part stuff. If you film this whole season, then you find the track that you want under the footage. And yeah, there was the next contact, and also more with the electronic stuff, because I then kind of liked it to listen to something experimental or whatever.
Totally.
And yeah, and then My really, or my the biggest impact on me had one concert from Boys Noise. I don't know the year anymore, but that was something where I said, okay, I want to know what is going on, and I
Yeah.
wanted to do that. And from that point on, yeah,
Yeah.
I was in.
Do you start working right away on a laptop and a DAW, or do you get some piece of hardware? Like, what was your first, like, how did you start dabbling and making your own stuff?
So the first thing I bought was a shitty DJ controller
Got it.
with I don't even know the software anymore. Like the cheapest one you can have,
Of course.
like virtual DJ or something like, yeah, virtual DJ, I guess. Um, that was my very first thing. Then I got bored of it real quick, and I bought some turntables. So I was DJing,
Right.
and then I played around with Fruity Loops on my laptop, but it was really like horrible stuff came out.
That's funny.
um, yeah, and then 2013 I started with Ableton on a computer,
Mm-hmm.
no hardware, and then from time to time I bought some stuff. Like my very first hardware was the Arturia Mini Brute, I think.
Nice.
Besides some MIDI keyboards was
Yeah.
the first thing, but then like for creating sounds, I bought this one first, and I in the beginning thought it would be shit because I didn't had a clue how it works. Yeah.
So, what was the journey in figuring out how it works? Like, were you just watching a ton of tutorials? Like, how were you kind of finding your way through the software, through synthesizers, and like, how were you figuring it all out? What was your learning process?
So I started doing it more professional in a more professional kind of way, or more addicted way, with a partner back in the days also, and we were watching tutorials, taught each other. Yeah, but it was also a lot of trial and error, just playing around with the different effects of Ableton,
Yeah.
or yeah, that was probably the most we did, like just jamming and checking what happens.
Yeah. What was the turning point? Like at first when it was just kind of like this fun thing that you did, you talked about starting with DJing, and when did it become like a more serious thing? Because you said at the beginning like, "Oh, I have a passion and my passion also became my job." I wonder like what was the turning point? Like how did that actually happen?
Mm, that's a good question. I think after like 2 years of playing around with this, we started playing the first gigs, or I started playing the first gigs. And from that point on, I was focused, and I said to myself, okay, let's put all my effort into this. And I just did this. I just practiced every day, played with the DAW every day. And yeah, that was the changing point. I think from the very first gigs I played,
Right.
from that point on, I knew, okay, let's do this
Yeah. What is
all in.
what was it about the gigging that kind of took it to the next level? Was it just like having to be responsible for entertaining that audience or being responsible to the clubs that you're going to, like that sort of thing?
I think it more was the feedback from the crowd that told me like, okay, this is crazy. You can control it somehow, and you can also create some magic, like playing for an audience. That is for me, or probably which was for me the point where I said, okay, that's it. The magic that happens there, and yeah, I
Yeah.
just felt cool, kind of.
It makes it so real going from, just playing in your, basement or living room or home studio, and then you go out and take it in front of a bunch of people and you actually see people react to it, or you see the energy, especially in your genre of music, like making music that is supposed to energize people and make people move. When you see the people move, I can imagine that's a huge impact.
Yeah, definitely. And also trying your first, even if they were not the best, your first tracks in front of an audience was so crazy to see people dancing to stuff you do at home. And that was super nice to see. And yeah, that feedback is still very important for me. I think that's also maybe because now this whole feedback is missing, and I feel it in my production process that I'm not that motivated, or at points where it takes me some, or if I reach a point where I say, okay, no, I don't feel the melody or which melody I should play. And back in the days, I just thought of that moment when playing or whatever,
Yeah.
and now this is missing. So yeah, it's hard to motivate sometimes now.
Sure. And I wonder if it also influences the music. Like once you started playing those clubs, gigs and stuff, and you were getting the feedback from the crowd, did you start producing music with the crowd in mind?
Maybe not, it was not the crowd, it was more the moment, like
Hmm.
standing behind the booth with the lights, the
Yeah.
sound systems, or for example, now I imagine tracks on specific places when I'm in the studio, and I said like, wow, now imagine on this sound system or on this festival, it would be so nice, the atmosphere, and yeah, stuff like this. So it's
Yeah.
not the crowd, I would say, it's more the place itself and the specific moments that I yeah, I had there.
Totally. And how has it this past year like been being not able to do that? Has that had any influence on the music? Like have things gotten a little bit like has it affected the sound? Like has it gotten a little bit darker? Or has it gotten a little bit I don't know, less tailored for a venue, I wonder.
So in the beginning, I was doing super crazy stuff that I haven't done before. Like I was playing around with the BPM for, let's say, do a track on 100 BPM or 140 BPM breakbeat stuff. And I was really thankful to be able to do that, to get out of the comfort zone somehow.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if you're in this routine, you don't say, okay, let's do some chill track now because you want to deliver tracks, you have to sign tracks on labels. This is, I would say, something you keep for an album or something.
Right.
And so, yeah, I was pretty thankful for playing around in the beginning of this lockdown. But now I miss clubs so much that I feel now more motivated to do like dance floor bangers again. I
Absolutely.
did like 2 remixes recently, and the one I started, I wanted to do like more chill or breakbeat stuff, but it turned out to, okay, fuck it, it has to be four to the floor, and yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Well, I wonder, since you mentioned it, like, what is your relationship with labels and how did that start, releasing tracks on labels, et cetera, and getting into that side of the industry versus like independent for all the folks watching who are maybe curious about the label system and how what maybe some advice for them, like how to get kind of their foot in the door in that world.
Yeah, my advice is to be patient. First of all, be patient and take your time. And if you feel like, okay, this is the right moment to send something, then you can do it. But I think most or a lot of people do the mistakes that they produce something, they have a finished track in their opinion, and then they send it out too quickly somehow, because you always evolve yourself and you get better and better. So if you just wait for a bit, it's easier, or the chances are higher that this track is better and the labels will sign it. But yeah, our first contact with labels were actually a Munich-based label
Hmm.
where we were like constantly going to the parties,
Right.
and somehow we got that contact. And yeah, contact is very a huge thing in
Right.
the scene, like in every scene. It's in every scene. If you're not connecting, I think it will be really hard. Or
Absolutely.
you're absolutely amazing and have the luck that someone hears your music on the right time.
Right. But that's like a lottery, I guess the way you're talking about
Yeah,
it is like through the networking and through just being out there is the way to be connected and kind of meet people.
yeah, and we did this in the first 3 years. We were going out every weekend, even if we were not playing, or yeah, just to meet people.
That's great.
So this is also something that I would say is, you should do that if you want to. I mean, now it's not possible, and
Sure.
texting someone on Instagram can be also annoying, I would say, but
Right.
it's not the same.
It's
Like
it,
if you meet someone in a club and
yeah.
it just clicks.
It seems like you are you're in tune with sort of the community that's formed around your music, especially through social media. And I wonder how is your relationship with the community of listeners that might have gone to see you at a club or a venue? How has that changed now that we're basically all digital? Are you still connecting that with them? Are you connecting with them in different ways?
So when I'm playing, I always try to connect with them. I talk with them before the show and after the show as much as I can. At some points, of course, it's not possible. If I
Right.
just reach 5 minutes before I start playing, then it's not possible to take pictures and talk and whatever. But I'm super thankful for everybody who wants to do pictures. And yeah, first of all, so now I'm doing kind of my best to connect with them by playing some live streams, to or I try to yeah, how can I say that? I try not to release more, but I try to be always there and do a podcast here
Yeah.
to what, yeah, in this kind of way.
Right.
I mean, it's not for me, it's not the same to connect with them on social media or something. I
Totally.
mean, I can do some question answer, I think, and I answer the questions, of course, but it's not the same like talking to every person.
Yeah, it doesn't quite it does not live up to the in-person interaction that we are used to getting for sure. I wonder
No,
how
and it's such a
go ahead.
sorry, it's such a important point of the whole music industry or our scene in general. If you're out, the connection to the people is probably the most important thing of what we are doing. Like we are there for playing music that people can connect through.
Totally.
And yeah, this point is missing at the moment. I played some gigs, like some limited gigs or with safety distance, and it's not the same. I cannot hug the promoter, for example,
Yeah.
after the whole night or whatever, or having shots with each other. It's not possible.
Yeah.
Uh, it sucks. I hate it, honestly, because
Y-
it's so important to me.
Yeah. Well,
Like
it's important to
to
your
connect.
listeners and
Yeah.
community too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I mean, to think about predictions, are we going to see this whole explosion, like once everybody gets vaccinated, like whenever that may be, once life goes back to semi-normal, do you foresee a huge live explosion? Like, are you going to be on tour for basically the whole year immediately as soon as we can go back to it?
I hope so, but I don't think so, because I when I played the last show, I was not used to it anymore, man. I
Ah,
just woke up at 1 and I was so tired. So I
really?
think my body will kill me.
That's so
But
funny.
I'm in.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike. You
If
just
it
got
is,
to get back on it, and you just got to kind of find your way again.
yeah, of course, of course.
That's so funny. Back to when you talked about at the beginning of this whole thing when you were releasing like more chill or like breakbeat, like slower stuff. Um, when you're doing stuff like that, that sort of goes outside of what you're usually known for doing. Are you ever concerned about like what will people think of this if it's not what I usually do? Like, will the audience respond well to it? Are you thinking of that, or are you just kind of composing like what comes out and then the folks who turn up will turn up?
Yeah, I thought about that a lot, but in the end, I say it's my kind of way. And of course, I try to let's say if I want to make a change, I don't do the change from that day to the next day. I just try to do it slow. For example, that now, for example, on the picture EP I released recently, there were the first tracks where I played around for with the BPM, the breakbeat track 130, and I also did this isolated humanity thing on the beginning of the quarantine of the very first. I think it was in April or something. Um, yeah, I think you should do it slowly, but if people like what you do, they also will like this, I think.
Yeah.
And of course, if I do a lo-fi house track just for fun, I probably won't release it, or maybe as a special on something. But yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely.
I think this is the way.
Totally. I mean, just to satisfy your own self as an artist, sometimes you don't want to be stuck in a box, and I find that it can be,
Definitely, yeah.
especially now that we're all in different boxes than we were a year ago, I guess you could say, like physically.
Yeah. But I think we can also always do it like this. For example, releasing a 6-track EP and do 4 tracks what you're known for and 2 tracks whatever you like.
Yeah,
If the label's okay with that, or releasing it on a different alias or whatever.
totally. What role, if any, does streaming and the streaming platforms and getting playlisted, like what role does that play in kind of what you're putting out? And are you intentional about that? Like maybe this track will get playlisted in this, or like does it play a big role for you?
Not really. I talked about it a lot with friends and also with my management. And I was at some point where I said, okay, I should maybe do a track that is 2 minutes long or an edit of it. But then I thought, like, no, it's my kind of piece of art, and I don't want to squeeze it into a box that Spotify tells me to do.
Right.
So I don't really have friend of this,
Totally. That,
and I
that
never was.
yeah, but I think some of your tracks have been playlisted regardless, so I guess it's worked out. Whatever you like put.
Yeah, there are some playlists that are for this kind of
Right.
music. But if I say, for example, I have one track with vocals that is 6 minutes. Why should I squeeze it to 3 minutes
Right.
and lose the whole? Because there's so much tension building up through the track, and I can't not break this
Sure.
for me as an artist.
It fundamentally changes the artistic vision of the track.
Yeah, just be just for some plays on Spotify,
Right.
which one play is, I don't know, 0.6 cents
Even
worth.
less, yeah, even
Yeah.
more zeros added to that for sure. Um,
Yeah.
Chat, I see you all having nice conversations. Thank you all for tuning in. We're here with Innellea today. So if you do have questions that you haven't heard answers to yet, please leave them in the chat. Would love to take them and get some questions from the audience. But thank you all. Hopefully all the audio is all set. I know some of you said it was a little bit quiet before, but it looks like we fixed that. Cool. Make sure you click that giveaway link from the Restream bot because you can get a 3 months free subscription to Splice. So make sure you pay attention to that, chat. I think it would be cool to switch gears and talk a little bit about workflow. And I know you said you're an Ableton user. Is that still true? You're still working in Ableton Live?
Yeah. It's my DAW, and I won't change it, I think.
And you won't change it. That's I would love to hear like what do you love about it? Because I know you came from the DJ world and you talked about dabbling in Fruity Loops a little bit. Like what brought you into using Ableton Live, and what keeps you loving it?
Yeah, I just love the easy structure that you see what you get. Oh, that you get what you see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think for me it's just the fastest way to work, because I know every shortcut, and why should I change that? Because it's, for me, this is very important, not to think too much when I'm doing music.
Right.
And if I always have to check, how can I get through this point where I can do this, that would stop my creativity somehow.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's why I love it.
I feel that. A couple questions that go with each other. Baptiste asking what's your writing process, and Skander asking how do you start a track. So I guess those can kind of go together. Like how do you start the track, and then what's the process once things get going?
Yeah. So basically I start setting a mood. I do whatever, some field recordings or a sample that I cut and loop and whatever, or just a atmosphere sound in the beginning, just to get a mood,
Yeah.
being moody, whatever. And then I start creating drums, bass line, synth, whatever comes up next. Yeah, but I will talk about that a lot in the masterclass this Saturday.
Yes, the pro session is coming up this weekend, and folks can check out the link to that in the description. Do you want to maybe talk about like what are some of the main aspects you'll hit on for the pro session?
Yeah, so basically I think I will do it like this, that I will show on my latest work what I did and how I proceeded. So I will talk about how I create my moods, how I create my drums and my melodies, how I, for example, do the sound design most of the time, because I like to use this kind of pitched, unpitched, no, not perfectly pitched synth.
Right.
Yeah, I will talk about that a lot and reveal some nice tools that are very useful for dynamic drums, for example. And yeah.
Nice. That sounds like a
And
cool
then on
inside
the
look.
next day, that was like the first day, I think. And on the second day, I will recreate or let's do a walk through an old track. I will do a
Nice.
poll like tomorrow or something where I will ask the participants which one they would like to see me reconstruct.
That's epic. Cool. That's a real inside look. That sounds really exciting. So for those of you that had questions about that, there's no better way to get into this artist's head than going into this pro session over the weekend. So definitely check out the link in the description. I'm not sure if there are early bird tickets left, but you can still check. But there will be other tickets left for sure. I wonder. Another good question from the chat. Where did it go? Oh yeah, about like we talked about like starting a track. So I love that idea of mood setting, field recordings, and then you can continue to add and add and add. But I wonder for you, like, how long does it take you to finish a track? And that comes from Adrian in the chat.
That's a good question. I like to work fast because I think um, making music is somehow doing a snapshot of my current emotions. And if it takes me too long to work on a track or to get it finished, then I have the feeling that it's not the right mood or not the right snapshot. Because I mean, the main idea should stay after one day, I would say, and mixing can be another day, but that's it for me. I think I have rarely any projects that took me longer than, let's say, 1 week.
Right.
For example, Vigilance, which is actually the most played track of me, I made this one in 5 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, when I look back, this is for me also like, what? How?
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes it just flows, and those tracks are the best.
I think it has a lot to do with acting on instinct. I think a lot of times when composing, we can get caught up like, oh, is this the perfect idea or is this the perfect sound or whatever? And if you just skip all that in your head and you just go right to instinct and just do some of the first things that come to mind, it makes the process much faster and it's much simpler, which makes it sound much better, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Chats, gear questions. Yes, we answered that. Perfect. I guess a good question is what is your setup right now? Like, are you mostly just like in the box, working in Ableton, like in your bedroom, or do you have a studio set up at home? Do you have a studio you go to? What's that?
I have a studio where I go to, and our PC crashed like 1 week ago.
Oh
So
wow,
I now had everything set up on my MacBook, which is quite nice because yesterday I finished a remix and I found out that something was wrong, and I could make these changes directly on my MacBook now. So that was quite nice.
that's great.
But yeah, but what was not nice was that I had to reinstall everything and get those licenses. That was a pain.
Right, for
But now I
sure.
have this done. Yeah, I'm working a lot with hardware. I um I don't know if I should say now what I
Sure.
own, but
Yeah.
I should. Okay. So for drums, I have the Roland TR8, which is my basic drum machine, I would say. Then I have the Arturia drum brute, which is nice for hi-hats because they are very unique, very dirty, but the rest I don't like. Then I have the Vermona is it called Performer? No, DRM2 Performer I also have, but for sound designing. For drums, that's and also the Electron analog rhythm.
Nice.
That's it for drums. For sound design, I have the Prophet 8, the Sub 37, Arturia Matrix Brute, Micro Freak, Mini Brute. So
Wow.
Arturia,
Big Arturia
sponsor me.
fan.
Yeah, I like it. I really like it. They're easy to handle, very well produced, and yeah, I just feel very comfortable with their stuff.
Yeah.
I have two retro synthesizer, one Yamaha YS. Oh man, I don't know the name anymore, but I don't use it that much. But it's nice sometimes. I sometimes use the drum kit of it, like a classy keyboard drum kit, which is really nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, I have the Poly D from Behringer, which is quite nice as well,
Yeah.
and the Vermona Performer, which is really, really, really crazy. But I didn't manage to put it in a track yet.
Oh,
It's very
okay.
complex because you have like 4 oscillators, and every oscillator works for itself. You have one LFO each on each oscillator, and you cannot really sync them.
Oh,
So that's
so it's
really
interesting.
interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting sound design
If you
possibilities.
want to do like pads, sounds, or something like this, it's amazing.
Right.
It's really cool. Yeah.
That is really cool. So like I hear all that gear and then I think about like your your gigging life. I assume you're not bringing all that gear to every gig and it doesn't go live like that. So is it like you're using these tools mostly in the composition and then a production process and then converting it into a performance style set similar to a DJ set?
Yeah, that's it. And like when I play live, I have the TR8 with me.
Okay.
But I did it once where I like recreated every drum groove I have on the TR8.
Wow.
So this was kind of the heart of my live set besides the laptop.
Yeah.
But now I changed it to do some additional things and stuff like this because it's really easy and hands-on. Like
Yeah.
you see every knob is doing what it says, and that's what I like. And then I bring different synths with me, but most of the time it's the Turia Mini Brute or some smaller thing to travel with.
Yeah.
On my live stream in the Planetarium here in Munich, I was able to carry like the big synths with me. That was quite nice as well, to send in some MIDI notes and twist it live. That was cool. But
Nice.
actually it's not made for traveling. No, they're too
Right.
huge.
Yeah, absolutely. What is your process for converting those finished tracks into a track you're gonna perform? Is it like putting out stems into like session clips in Ableton Live? Like what's your process there?
Yeah, like for playing live, you mean?
Yeah,
Or playing,
for
yeah,
playing
for
live.
playing live, I make like four, I try to set it in 4 groups, like drums, pads, bass, and leads. And yeah, then I export it in those 4 tracks or groups, and then cut it and build some loops inside. And yeah, so I can trigger it with the APC.
Nice.
So pretty much, I didn't find the perfect way how to play live, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on it. But
For
it's
sure.
such a complex topic, I think. I watched the Frank Wiedemann's class. He did like explain how he's doing it, and I think that's a very nice inspiration.
Cool.
He's kind of doing it like the same like I told now, but he has some nice thoughts here and there.
Yeah, it's always everybody does it like slightly differently. It is such a complex thing, like you said, and there's lots of ways to do it
I mean,
right.
it would be much easier, I think, if I would do techno or house or something
Right.
that is more simple or loopy or loop based.
Yeah.
But in my music, like in every track there is a pad evolving during the whole song, and I'm not able to tweak every synth I'm using. That's not possible. So yeah, I have to find my way.
Absolutely. I'm gonna dig through chat a little bit because we had some good questions come through. Um, I think. Oh yeah. Well, let's go back to the networking thing because Mariana, I think, wants to go a little bit deeper on that question and asks, what does he mean when he says that he used to go to clubs and connect? Does he mean he was talking to random people? Like what did good networking look like back when you were like in the clubs and meeting people and talking to folks?
So, okay, that's is a good question. I think back then we always checked lineups and we're looking like, okay, this guy is really nice, or we loved his music, and we were just go there and talk to him and try to I don't know, have a 1 minute chat with him or whatever, or give our USB stick, or yeah. I mean, it's of course easier to connect if you have something out already and people may know you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Just being
good
prepared
networking.
and kind of think about who's going to be at the show, who's going to be at the club, and then
Yeah,
kind of being prepared
yeah.
that way. Yeah, that's
Or for example, if you have um, a local promoter that you really like the parties of, then you can try to go there, like let's say 5 times, and always try to talk to him, but don't be too pushy.
right.
Just relax, be yourself, and I think
Keep it
that
cool.
was yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it was cool because um, Daniel lived in Augsburg, which is a small city, but they had one really, or they have like two really cool clubs. But it's easier there to connect than in a huge city, I think, or in a huge club where the DJ is far away and
Yeah.
something like this. So it's easier to connect in cozy clubs.
Totally.
Yeah, but it's possible, and I think you should try it if you want to release on, I don't know, such labels.
Yeah.
You can try it like this. It's always
Absolutely.
better to do it personal than just via mail or Instagram.
For sure. I'm gonna keep rolling through chat questions because we have a few of them. Zen has a non-music related question. Zen asks, he's played in some amazing locations. Is there one he hasn't played at yet that's at the top of the list when things return to normal? I know that's a big one, and you have played at some cool places from what I've seen and poked around with online. And you talk about imagining the space and imagining your tracks in the space. So I think
Yeah.
this is a really good question.
Yeah, it's definitely a good question. First come in my mind is the Great Wall of China, I think. That would be nice
That would be amazing.
because I didn't play in China, and that would be cool. Yeah.
Whoa.
And maybe one of the coolest locations. Huh. That's tough. But I think playing, even if there was no audience, playing in the planetarium in Munich was very special for me.
Oh yeah, for sure. I can imagine that's an
That was
inspiring space.
cool. Yeah, because it felt so unreal. Like if you, it felt just like in space. It was really cool.
Yeah, totally. Um, Skander again with another good question. I think it has to do with the mood setting and the atmospheres you were talking about creating. Asks, do you record random sounds and use them in your tracks? Like what, when you talk about doing field recordings, what kind of field recordings are you doing and incorporating?
Yeah, a few examples for that. I think once I stood on, was standing on the harbor in Australia. I think it was in Melbourne, and there was just a nice wind going on, and some flags were smashing against the poles, and that sounded nice to me. And I just took my phone and recorded it
Yeah,
and put it on low volume under a track, and you have already such a natural feeling in the track. Or even if it's just a noise, that helps me a lot
for
to
sure.
make everything more warm and I
Personal.
don't know, yeah, and natural kind of,
Yeah,
because nothing is perfect in our life, and if you add something that is maybe not perfect, it gives it a personal touch. Yeah.
absolutely. Rico, how to not get bored with the main loop you create. I mean, you talked about this a little bit about how your music is very like it progresses through, like it may have loops at the heart of it, but it very much grows and evolves over time, so it's not as simple as some like other genres. So what is your kind of trick for doing that? Maybe this is something you'll cover in the pro session as well.
If or my advice to the question is, if the loop bores you, then it's not a good loop.
Mm-hmm.
When I do a track and I don't like the loop anymore, then I delete it.
You just totally trash it.
Yeah.
Get rid of
I
it.
just don't save the project then.
I think there
And it
is.
helps me.
Yeah, it does, and it's what you talked about before when we were talking about like working on instinct and keeping things simple and the way you work fast to capture the moment. I think when you do that, and then when that's going badly, you realize you're trying to make something work rather than it just working. So you just like it's easy when you feel that when you feel like you're trying to force something to work to just abandon it, delete it, move on, try something new. I think a lot of people avoid trying to do that because they feel like they need to keep everything they create. Did you have to like
And I can
overcome that?
totally understand.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not easy to say, okay, this is not good, or okay, let's do another approach. This one is just trash.
Yeah.
It took me also a while, but now I think I got also fast in figuring this out. And it's also okay to accept if you're not like super creative on that day and say, okay, no, this is the third approach or whatever. Let's go outside and have a beer or whatever.
Absolutely.
This is super important and super hard to accept.
Yeah. Adrian Consta has a more philosophical question. What separates pros from hobbyists in your mind?
Mm. Whew.
I think there's a very clear distinct the way you even like started the conversation, like, oh, I have this passion and now it's my job. And I think that mindset and that pursuit of that specifically says a lot about an artist. And I wonder if it has to do with, you always wanted your passion. Like, did you always want your passion to be your job? Did you always foresee it as a goal? And were you always working towards that versus just having it be a passion? You know what I mean?
No, for me, it was part of the passion that I do it that hard and focused.
Yeah.
It kind of motivated me, and that's part of the passion that I have, which is now thankfully my job as well.
For sure.
So, but it's hard to answer this question. What is the difference? Maybe just the income. I don't know.
Yeah.
Stupid answer, because I'm actually doing the same that I did before, but I now do it for a living, and sometimes I'm no. I wanted to say that I'm sometimes maybe losing a bit the creativity or the right the angle that I can say, okay, now relax, it's still passion or still music, something like this, the rush.
Yeah. Let's see, Rico. Rico has a question about reference tracks. Do you think it's okay using other tracks as a reference in order to start an idea?
Definitely, that helped me a lot in the beginning. I was doing it over and over. I just put it into my Ableton, and for arrangement, for example, it helped me so much. I was always using the Frankie and Sandrino tracks because I love their arrangements, and I was just super amazed by them. And then I put them in, and
Yeah.
I think it's totally fine to do it.
I think what's interesting is
I mean, you're not copying it.
Right, not copying it, but the answers are always there. Like if you have these influences and you're like, I really want to make a track like that, influenced by that. Like if you just like really like it's all there. You can analyze like this happens for 16 bars and then for 32 bars this happens, and I think people don't realize how much information is right in front of them,
Also, one nice example, a good friend of mine is now at this point, and he was also recreating a Frankie and Sandrino track, and there was that one cowbell that had those delay on it, which was pitched afterwards. and he was just trying to figure out how, and he was working on that so much, and now he knows it, and he can use it on every other instrument as well. So I think it's also good for your learning process if you just try to recreate something
Totally.
and use it somehow for yourself.
Just adding other colors to your palette, you know, like, and it can
Yeah,
be used across all your music.
adapting things, of course.
Totally. Um, any advice on creative block? This comes from HBTV in the chat.
Ooh.
When you feel uninspired or you feel stuck.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that on the in the masterclass as well. Yeah, like I said before, it's okay to have those blocks and just relax, just chill and take your time.
Yeah.
Because this is the worst you can do, like push yourself too much and say, fuck, I need to, this has to be a bomb, this has to be this. No, nothing has to be that.
Yeah.
Do what you love and then everything turns out good.
Yeah, I think it is the
If you do,
pressure we put on ourselves. Like if we put pressure on ourselves while we're
of course,
creating, it makes the art way worse, you know, because you have an expectation. If you go in with no expectation, no pressure, you make something really great.
definitely, that's it.
Yeah,
But it's
Harry,
so hard to accept this as well.
for sure. It is hard to like to it takes discipline to be in that mindset for sure.
Yeah.
Harry Lee in the chat says, looking forward to the class this weekend. Yes, Harry Lee getting in on that pro session.
Me too, man.
Yeah.
Super excited. I already dreamed about it.
Really? That's amazing. That
Yeah, I
means it
had a
has a
dream
big
about it.
impact. That's great.
Definitely, it's something very new for me. I didn't imagine before that I will talk to like 200 people and teach them
For
how
sure.
to do whatever, or just to show them what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah.
really excited. It's cool.
Yeah. I love the idea of the pro session because it gets you like that deep access. Like we're having a nice conversation that I think people can take a lot from right now, but to think of there's a deeper version of this where you get in the dawn, you get into this creative process, I think it's going to be really great. Is the class going to be interactive? Yes, it is. All right, very cool. I have a final question because we're coming towards the end of the hour. Because I've noticed, like around some of your tracks, I noticed it specifically on a track called Nostromo, and I wanted to ask if maybe how do you draw influence from things that are not music? Like, are you taking a lot of influence from film, art, just other things that are not music?
Yeah, definitely. I would say so. Like easy influences, like just chilling with friends. This is probably my most, or the one of my biggest influences.
Tell me
Or
about
just,
that. How
I
does
don't
that
know,
influence the
just
music?
going through the world. Sorry?
Tell me about how that influences the music.
Yeah, it's influencing my mood. Like if I feel well after like I spend some time with my friends having a coffee or whatever, then I go more relaxed into the studio and that influences the music. So it's influencing me, and then this influence I can copy to my or transmit to my music.
Sure. And it seems like emotion plays a big role in your music as well.
Yeah. I mean, of course, also sports and everything else influences me. I love to watch videos and or skateboard videos, for example. This is insane. I watch so many skateboard videos a day. I think this is the next biggest passion I have,
Do you skate
skateboarding.
currently?
Yeah, every day,
That's
every day.
great.
Yeah.
Do you find having that like another outlet that is completely different from music helps you creatively?
Definitely. That's skateboarding is one of the rare things where I can switch off completely.
Right.
I don't think of anything else. My phone is somewhere else. I don't care. I'm just there having a good time. This is the biggest influence for my music at the moment because I'm so grounded afterwards and resetted. So this is I can just say to everyone, have something besides music.
Right. That's amazing. I mean, I have the same thing, but it's with like video games, so it's not as cool as
That's
skateboarding.
also fine. Yeah.
But it's like that thing that you said. It's exactly that. It's being able to switch your brain off. Because, like everywhere you
Yeah.
go, you get into the car, there's music. Even if you go out walking on the street, there's music. And you have that analytical part of your brain that's always on and creative. But when you have something else to focus on, like for you with skating, like you're just laser focused and you forget all that because the focus is on something else. And then you like finish
Yep.
and you're suddenly refreshed. It's so amazing.
Yeah, definitely. That's the best thing to have.
Totally. Well, chat. Hey, those were all some great questions. I see a few of you talking about the pro sessions, and Adrian even saying you've done some pro sessions and they were really good. That's amazing. I know some of the questions I did not get to, but you can potentially see if some of them will get answered within the pro sessions. Anything that has to go deeper on the creative process, all that stuff, I'm sure that will all get answered. Thank you all for watching this stream. I think you all had a lot of fun. Make sure you check out the link to the giveaway so you can potentially win 3 months to Splice. That should be good. And I'm super stoked about
I
this.
needed to.
Yeah, there you go. You can enter as well. We'll see if we can make that work. ReStreamBot is great because I see you all watching from Facebook, the other YouTube channel, and then my YouTube. So thank you. We're here every Tuesday doing a different interview. Sometimes we do call-in shows as well. So if you're interested in that, tune in every single Tuesday. Tune in the rest of the week on youtube.com/343labs for more electronic music content. And Innellea, thank you so much for tuning in today, or for being
Thank
with
you,
us
man.
today.
It was amazing. It was amazing. Thanks.
All right.
And thanks for the nice questions.
Yeah, this was great. Check out the pro session, everybody. And also, don't forget, I'll be streaming later tonight, doing some beat making, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll be on later tonight. But Innellea, thank you again so much. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.